Hey guys, welcome to today's episode of Talking Wilder. I really wanted to start this series because I was excited to spotlight the incredible women in Nashville and the awesome things that they're doing. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Welcome to Talking Wilder. We have Rachel here from The Newborn Nurse. And let me just back up and start. So I started this series because I wanted to spotlight women doing kick-ass things. And this lady that I have beside me right now is doing something that is so helpful to women, especially women in Nashville. Although, can you access your stuff online now? You're doing like some online. Anyways,
Yes.
I'll link to her Instagram account. I got 10 steps ahead of
That's
where I
okay.
actually needed to be. So Rachel has a company called The Newborn Nurse, and they help new parents basically prepare for parenthood. So you do baby classes prior to birth, and then she also has an amazing team of nurses that come in and help parents adjust to having a newborn. We used her, and I just have to say, like, I actually like get emotional about it because your nurses treated Graham like she was theirs. And as somebody who struggled with a lot of postpartum anxiety and a lot of postpartum depression, like, I just remember coming home from that first night at the hospital, and I don't know if you remember, but I like frantically wrote you, and because I was breastfeeding and that wasn't working right. And at one point I was just standing in the shower crying, and I don't remember who the first nurse was, but
It might have been Marsha, your favorite.
it might have been.
Yeah.
There was one woman that was just like on another level for us. But I was in the shower crying, thinking to myself, like, how did they let me leave the hospital? How can I do this? And I wasn't able to breastfeed, and it was a whole thing. And she was literally sitting in the rocker in the nursery with Graham, feeding her milk through a syringe. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Yes,
Like,
you're
I get choked up thinking about it. But I want to start from the beginning with your background.
Yeah.
So first of all, I think I already said this because I jumped in too quick. Rachel, her company is called The Newborn Nurse. I will link to everything because Nashville parents or parents to be, you absolutely need her. So let's
Thank
start
you.
with, like, what's your background?
Yeah, so I'm actually a Nashville native. I'm one of the few.
A
I grew
unicorn.
up here. I am a unicorn. I actually used to live about a block from here. But so I have been a neonatal registered nurse for 16 years. I went to UT Knoxville, got my nursing degree there. So I worked in the hospital setting for 14 years in the nursery, NICU, and on the mother-baby floor. And the whole reason I started this business is exactly for moms like you. In the hospital setting, the nurse, we actually have to walk the mom out the door with their newborn to the car. And so after doing that for many years, especially first-time parents, I'd have them crying on me or like holding their newborn like, oh my God, what am I supposed to do?
Why are they
What
making
am I
me
supposed
leave
to
right
do with this
now?
baby? Yeah, like you just gave birth and you're sending me home with this newborn. And so after doing that for many years, I just thought, these moms need help at home. And this thought it stayed in my heart. And so one day I literally Googled how to start a business, and I started it from the ground up, literally piece by piece. It was not easy. I always say I'll never start another business ever again because it was super stressful. But
And how many years ago did you start the business?
yes, so we turned 4 years old this past April.
Congrats,
yeah,
lady.
yeah. So it started out slow. We had 1 or 2 clients, 1 or 2 nurses, and then now we have, I think, close to 30 nurses, and we've had close to, I think, 170 families in Nashville. But the reason we do what we do, again, we're a team of all neonatal RNs, and we help moms once they get home from the hospital. We help with breastfeeding. We help with sleep training. A lot of what we do is just education. Like moms need to know how to swaddle or how to diaper.
And we don't. We do not.
Yeah, just basics, like very, bare minimum basics on how to care for your baby. So that's what we're there for. We're just a supportive, loving team. I'm super picky about who I have on my team, and so I feel like we're all angels and just kind of come in and help you with all the things.
And I was saying when you first got here that one of the nurses we became so attached to, and she loved Graham like she was her own. Like I would wake up and check the monitor in the middle of the night, and she'd be like, singing to Graham, reading her stories, like brushing her hair, like all of that kind of stuff. So it was just, I don't know, it was just really special. And I think also, let's like kind of back up too and explain to people who might not know like what a night nurse is.
Sure.
Because I think a lot of people, like, you hear about it, but you don't truly know. You're like, are they sleeping in the room while the baby's there? Like, what is it exactly that a night nurse overnight does?
Yeah. So with our company in particular, what we do is, again, we're all RNs, and so we would come to your home, and let's say we're there from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. That tends to be our most common time slot. So we'd come over at 10 o'clock, you go to bed, we take over care of the baby. If you're breastfeeding, what we do is we bring the baby to the mom ready to nurse, and then in between we do diaper changes and all that. If you are bottle feeding, we would bottle feed the baby all night, and then we work on sleep training. We can do baby baths, dishes, baby laundry. We do not sleep. I think some other companies do that I've heard of, but you're hiring us to watch your baby. If I had a night nurse, I'd want my nurse to be awake with my baby at night. So we sit with your baby awake and just kind of watch over them. And our goal is for mom to get as much rest as possible, because sleep is very critical.
Sleep is
It's
critical, and you're getting zero of it those first few months.
Yes, it really helps if you can get rest to help with postpartum depression, anxiety, all the things. So that's kind of what a night nurse looks like. And most of our families end up doing like 2 or 3 nights a week for about 6 to 8 weeks. That tends to be the kind of the sweet spot on when help is needed.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And then I know for me, the reason why I initially reached out to your company, and this was even prior, this was like when I was pregnant even, I was very concerned. Just depression runs in my family. I've kind of got those tendencies. So I was very concerned about postpartum depression. So I reached out to you, and I was so glad that I did, because for me, it was less about like, because I think people are like, don't get me wrong, like having a night nurse is a luxury. It's an expense to me that was just non-negotiable because I was concerned. And I had so much anxiety in those first like 6 months and we didn't have you for 6 months. I wish that we had, but I had so much anxiety in those 6 months that there is no chance I would have slept at all if somebody wasn't in there with Graham. Right. So for me, it was about, managing, because again, I think people hear it and they're like, oh, that's so nice. You must have slept through the night every single night that you had the night nurse. And I'm like, well, it's not that, because I was still breastfeeding. So I was still up every few hours. But for me, it was about having an extra set of eyes on her so I knew that she was safe. Yeah. So like when I say that they saved me, like I was already dealing with enough and you're already exhausted. But if I was also dealing with the overnight anxiety, like I could at least get a few hours where I felt like at peace and I knew that somebody was there. And I think sleep is such a huge thing, that sleep and anxiety is something that like no one tells you when you're pregnant, I think, because I think they don't want to scare you.
Right.
Like you're already dealing with so much being pregnant, but it's something that's like, I don't know, you can't prepare for it. You can't prepare for like being handed this baby and being like, you're in charge of this 24/7, and there's breastfeeding to worry about, or pumping and sleeping and swaddling and diapering. So what you're doing is just truly incredible. And I want to actually touch on a little bit where you're headed after this. Actually, is for an education course, right? For
the baby
soon-to-be parents. Yes. So let's talk about that a little bit.
So what we just talked about was the night nursing care. That's once baby is born, then we come into your home and do the care. But what I also do a lot of, I'm actually heading to 2 after this.
So thank you for coming, because I was like, we need you right now.
That's okay. I made it all work. I do a baby 101 class, and what that is I come to your home a month before your due date. And I bring a baby doll. It's actually in the backseat of my car. I'm like, I hope no one breaks open the windows. But so it's like a newborn.
It's a hot day in Nashville.
Yeah, it looks real too. So, but anyway, I bring a baby doll that is a newborn size, and we go over literally everything about newborns you'd ever want to know. We go through.
Is that one of us?
That's you can just cut it off. It's my alarm. Sorry. We go over swaddling, diapering, breastfeeding. We go through all of your equipment, your breast pump, your car seat, like anything you have questions about. We go through sleep training. And so I've done probably 100 of these classes. And at the end, the parents they like exhale. They're like,
We're good.
Oh my
I feel
gosh.
like, didn't you come over and go through, I think you went through the
Yes.
closet
Yep.
where I had everything. I had the monitor, I had everything. And it was just like, yeah, it was like somebody saying to me, you're good. Like,
Yes.
we've got you. I remember
Yep.
you had like a checklist that you went through.
Yeah.
And this was, you know, a while ago.
Yeah, I remember that. And we can also go through your products, and I'll be like, you actually don't need any of that, but you need a few more of these. So it's very helpful to just kind of get prepared for baby.
Yeah.
Once, you know, before you deliver.
And
Yeah.
what, you know, I just got like a few things on here. What do you think either the best piece of advice you got when starting your business or the best piece of advice you could give to somebody starting a business?
Do you? I don't look at any other companies or what anybody else is doing. I kind of put my blinders on, and also remembering like the reason why you started. The whole reason for my business, I honestly, this might sound crazy, but I don't care about the money. I don't care about, you know, how we're growing. My reason and my why and why I wake up every morning and do what I do is to help moms like you who are crying in the shower. Like, that's just my passion. I feel like it's why I was put on earth, is to help other people. And so if you just don't lose sight of why you started, and just make sure to just focus on you, do you, and kind of, again, put your blinders on, stay in
Yep.
your lane.
I think that's a
super
great piece of
helpful.
advice too, especially because everything is so visual and social media based now.
Yeah.
So it's easy to see, like, you know, there are a few other companies within Nashville that do this. I personally think that we won't get into who does what or better or whatever, but I think, like you said, like if you're offering an incredible service, there's room for everyone. Nashville is growing. There's a lot of people here. So like you said, if you just put your blinders on, you remember why you started, and you just like keep going with it, and you're offering an incredible service, then people like you will succeed in this, because
Yeah.
it's just like, you know, the quality of your work, you know, the girls that you're hiring, you know who they're helping. And moms need a lot more support than we get. And also, I wanted to actually ask you, are you doing any classes online? Are you going to start to do any of that if you're not?
Yeah, so it's on the horizon to do some virtual Baby 101 classes.
Amazing. Okay, good.
Right now, which would be like on a Zoom. But right now we are doing Baby 101 phone consultations. So we
Great.
go over everything over the phone, and it's been great. We've done several of those. And so, but nothing online as of yet, but it's down the
Good.
pipeline.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the phone stuff is super helpful
Yeah,
too,
oh,
just
yeah.
to be able to like talk to somebody and everything like that. Do you have, we're going to kind of wrap up here,
Sure.
but do you have any podcasts, books, anything that if somebody doesn't have access to you or doesn't have the finances to have access to you, do you have a podcast, a book, magazine, a website, anything that you can recommend maybe to pregnant women or new moms that are struggling?
Yeah. Well, there are so many out there. I know one in particular, I follow the Taking Care of Babies. She does some sleep training
Yep.
information. She's wonderful. But what I try to tell moms is wherever you are in the world or U.S., if you can Google in your area, like lactation consultants or night
Yep.
nursing care, because I think the hands-on help is what is the most beneficial. Like you can Google all day long, but then you're almost overwhelmed with the info. So I try to point moms to research night nursing care, lactation consultants in their city. That way they can get the hands-on help that they need. But as far as like a website, again, the Taking Care of Babies, I really like her sleep training processes. So that's pretty much the only one that I usually go to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one actually that I can recommend that I read was called The Fourth Trimester. And that's actually like just reminding women that, you know, there's 3 trimesters that you're pregnant, but the 4th trimester is like really figuring out who you are, what you are, and learning how to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
So anyways, I will link to all of your stuff. Thank you
Cool.
so
Thank
much for
you.
joining us
Thanks
today.
for having me.
And next time I'll actually remember the name of my own video series.
Thank you for having me, Chris. Yeah.